What is up? This is the Leafs Convo podcast for October 20th, 2019. It is the Sunday Spectacular presented by our friends at Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. 0% financing going on right now, free winter tires, a free television with the purchase of your new Ford. Message me in the community platform for details. I am Norman James along with Mike Augello. We're coming off a night of spectacular finishes in the world of sports. One a great one a poor one from Mr. Augello's perspective. We'll talk mostly about the good one. The Maple Leafs, a 4-3 overtime winner, beating the Bruins at Scotiabank Arena. Matthews to Marner, done deal. The Leafs beat the Bees. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Norm. I think a flawed game, but in the end, a victory for the Leafs. The funny thing is, and everybody tweeted it out at the end of the game, and everybody thought that it was Marner's goal. And I don't know if it's been officially changed, and it might be this morning. But Elliot Friedman tweeted out, like, as I was on the train heading back to Buffalo, that the shot went off of Morgan Riley's shin pad. And even in the post game, Morgan Riley wouldn't fess up that it hit him. He said, but Marner after scoring the goal was jumping for joy, and he said it's all Mo. So it probably is going to go to Riley, and that was Riley's second of the game, and probably one of his better games of the year. He's been struggling, and a lot of people have assigned the blame to Cody Ceci, which I think is ridiculous. He has not played well, but he played fairly well yesterday. The Leafs gave up over 45 shots against a Bruins team that didn't have their number 2 center in Krejci. A team that seems to have their number, and every time the Leafs took a lead, they found a reply. They found an answer. So, but they're 5-3-1. It's a good victory, but there are still reasons. A little over 2 weeks into the regular season to have some concerns about the Leafs.
Should we be so critical when the Leafs are taking on the Bruins? We know the history these two have produced over the last several seasons. Regular season and postseason combined. You're going to crunch the numbers any way you want. Had the Leafs lost the game but looked spectacular statistically, you're going to have a faction that says, well, look, you know what? That was great. Even though the score didn't reflect how the game was played, the Leafs did well. In this case, it was Mike, it was a fun affair. You were there. That was a blast. It was like playoff hockey, and you can sense now that the rivalry, the history, what's coming next is all wrapped up, coagulated into one big fun mishmash of a contest between these two when they play.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, it was an entertaining game, no doubt. But I'm sort of trying to look at it analytically in terms of how it broke down, and the Leafs
metrics muncher, you.
Yeah, there you go. They got up 2-0, and they, again, like they did it against Washington on Wednesday, they give up a goal in the final minute. I don't know if Rana's goal was the final minute, but I mean, those goals are killers, and giving Boston a little hope going into the second period. Teams and coaches always point to those goals as turning points. Now, they didn't give up a goal in the second period, and then Boston ties it, and Kerfoot scores the goal to go ahead 3-2, and then Pasternak scores to tie it. I mean, it was a back and forth, but if you look at the overall game, over 45 shots on Anderson is something that they cannot regularly do. I mean, he played great. I think he was the first star. Every player that we talked to after the game said it was Anderson that was responsible for the victory. He earned the Raptors basketball in the locker room after the game. But you cannot depend on your goaltender that much every game. And right now, the Leafs are depending on Anderson to be Superman every night, and you can't do that.
This is the Leafs Convo podcast for Oak Ridge Ford. The Sunday Spectacular, October 20, 2019. Par Lindholm almost coming back to haunt his whole team with 3 shots on goal for the Bruins. Whew, that was a close one.
Yeah, the ex-Leaf revenge did not strike yesterday, but I mean, he's a role player. He's a fourth line player. And actually for I know, but for what he was, which was a 26-year-old guy being signed out of the Swedish league, he won faceoffs, he killed penalties, and they traded him for Nick Patan. And if you look at what was announced on the Saturday headlines on Hockey Night in Canada last night, that trade is a failed trade because Patan has barely
Mm-hmm.
played for the Leafs. He didn't make the team this year. He got sent down. He got cleared through waivers. Mike Babcock didn't like the type of player that he is. And now Elliot Friedman reported yesterday that they're looking to move Patan because of a roster situation that I'll mention later. I mean, so that trade, I mean, in the end, they probably would have been better off keeping Parra Lindholm as a fourth line guy.
I hate to say it, but he's just a bit too diminutive, Mike, and he's not Marty St. Louis. You have to have, or Theo Fleury, you have to have something spectacular to your game if you're going to thrive at that size. If not, I mean, you have to do something special. I mean, Trevor Moore's not the biggest guy, but you can just tell, he gets on the ice, he comes out of his skin, he just wants it. Mitch Marner coming through in a big game. Morgan Rielly hasn't had the best season in terms of his organization defensively, but the guy is still looks like he's going to put up another 60, 70 point season. So the big guys coming through. Matthews with a fantastic assist, showing great poise and patience in overtime, doing what he has to do in that 3-on-3. And you could feel it was coming. But Dmytro Timashov with the absolute beauty in the first period. And Ilya Mikheyev, another point, 18 minutes of ice time last night, out ice timing the one and only William Nylander. And I don't want to crap on him, but I'm saying, man, when you come to play, you get things done and you're rewarded with ice time accordingly.
Well, it was a weird night because leading up to the game in practice on Friday, Babcock had the normal line of Janssen, Matthews, and Nylander, and adjusted the second and third lines with the absence of Tavares. Coming out of the locker room, the opening night lineup had Marner and Matthews together, which is, as you know, is something that doesn't happen often. But what Babcock was doing was sort of matching against the big Bruins line of Pasternak, Bergeron, and Marchand, especially in the defensive zone, because Marner is better defensively than Nylander. The coach admitted it. So we've known that for a while, but and they used Nylander in the offensive zone for offensive zone starts. That was a one-game thing, he said after the game, because more than likely they're just going to go back to the static, Janssen, Matthews, and Nylander against Columbus on Monday. But to match up against Bergeron and Marchand and Pasternak, he had to basically put all of his eggs in one basket. Yeah. And it worked. It worked to a point. But Babcock does not like to put Marner and Matthews together because it's two guys who want the puck all the time, and it's putting all your firepower on one unit, and you don't have to do that with the Leafs. So I think it was an experiment that's not going to continue.
Yeah, but you'd know, Mike, that if those two guys come together and find a synergy, it's going to be nasty for the opposition and a lot of fun for us. Like, we can't say that because both of these guys want the puck, it's detrimental to what they're trying to accomplish. Because Marner is a facilitator and Matthews is a finisher. There's just so much talent there. I get it. You want to spread yourself a little thinner when you have such a saturation, right, of expertise and talent and possibility. And look, we know that Matthews and Nylander in a lot of ways are tied at the hip based on what the coach thinks, based on what a lot of Nylander's fans think he needs to have to succeed. So they can continue down that road for all I care. And as long as they're producing, then that's great. But with John Tavares out of the mix right now, Marner, and this is the other thing about Marner, man, you put him on the fourth line, the third line, second line, first line. He's going to produce. The guy's just he's the most naturally gifted hockey player on the team, one of the most naturally gifted players in the league, and it's certainly fun to watch. This is the Leafs Convo podcast for Oak Ridge Ford. Big T Screamer and Low Ender at Rock Metal Fiend. I like the possibility of Timashov, Spezza, and the GOAT as the fourth line. Spezza and the GOAT swap out positions. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, there's going to be some decisions to be made fairly soon. Again, I was mentioning what was talked about on the Saturday headlines with Chris Johnston and Elliot Friedman. Apparently, Travis Dermott is fairly close. Zach Hyman is not trailing far behind. The Leafs can't activate them until after next Saturday. With Hyman, I get the feeling it's going to be probably the first week of November. At that point, the Leafs have to make some important roster decisions. They're at 23 right now, but it sounds like with the LTIR situation and salary of Dermott and Hyman coming back, that they may have to demote as many as 4 players. That would put them at 21. I don't think that Dmitry Timashov is going to be one of them because he requires waivers, and he's got 4 points right now playing on a fourth line. Mm-hmm. Nick, that may be one of the reasons that they're talking about trading Patan, because simply they can't fit him, and they don't, and he wouldn't have to clear waivers because it's been less than 30 days. But it's something that I think that is going to be a little bit of an issue for Kyle Dubas. I thought Spezza played pretty well. He played mostly between Moore and Kapanen. They had a bunch of opportunities in the first period. I liked his game. Babcock didn't even mention him. But he loves that fourth line. I'm ready for him to adopt Freddie Gauthier, basically, because he was just singing his praises in the post game. And from what I've been told, he likes Nick Shore and he likes Timashov as that fourth line. So I get the feeling that Spezza, when everybody comes back, is going to be the 13th forward and is going to step in as the winger or as a center when injuries pop up. And last night, an injury popped up with Andreas Janssen. He blocked a shot. And Babcock said after the game that he'd probably be back for next game, but you don't know.
Notice how we don't criticize players who are actually performing, and we don't criticize them that terribly anyway. We're adults; they're young players who are trying, professionals, amazing at their craft. But do you notice we're starting to shift the conversation about the GOAT from criticism to ginning up his capability, because it's there. He's doing a good job. And the Leafs have so much talent that you can mix and match. What I want to say here is the Leafs have so much talent that you should be able to mix and match any player, any line, anytime, and not only compete, but compete well and win more often than not, Mike. This idea that guys have to be saddled beside certain individuals in order for them to succeed, or Marner can't play here, he can't play there. Spetz is only good at shifting on the fourth line, from the flank to the center position. There's so much talent on this team. You can bring guys in out of the dressing room or out of the press box and pop them in, and they should be able to perform. Not only are they hungry, but they're talented, and the reason they're up there is because there's so much talent that they're getting pushed out on many occasions. Mike, there's lots of talent on this team. Any way you slice it, any way you position them, you know it, I know it, our fans know it. This team should be able to compete and succeed.
Well, I'll give Gauthier all the credit. I remember seeing him skate in 2013 after he was drafted in the first round, and he could barely move. It was really bad. He's worked very hard with Barb Underhill. He has gotten stronger. He's a mountain of a guy. I think the only criticism I have of him right now, now he's a legitimate fourth liner. He's been inserted into the penalty kill after. Yeah, they throw the body. If he could use his size, and there was a wrestling match last night on the ice, I think it was with Charlie Coyle. If he could do that all the time, if he had a mean streak, he's too nice of a guy. If he had a mean streak, he would be a terror out there.
And maybe he'll develop that, Mike.
Yeah, but I have to give credit. I thought Justin Hall had a really good game last night. He threw the body a few times. He was positionally pretty good. He covered for his terrible defensive pairing mate in Martin Marincin, who took, I think, 2 or maybe 3 penalties and was out of position on a couple chances. And look, I will only be critical when a player is not playing well. And I don't know, I can't remember the last time Martin Marincin actually played well. That's
Can we Martin Marince our hands with this guy forever?
But I'm pumped.
Oh boy. We don't want to beat up on anyone. Delio on the community platform. YouTube.com/The Leafs Convo. Please like and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube. Everywhere you enjoy The Leafs Convo, whatever podcast platform, subscribe to it. But especially on YouTube, it's the mothership. It's the main channel for us. And we don't apologize for all the advertising. It's what keeps us in business. We also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/TLC patrons. Get over there, throw a couple dollars our way, get yourself a Leafs Convo shirt. So, Delio, could you address Nylander's horrible play? Delio, could you address Nylander's horrible play? He hears footsteps and gives the puck away constantly, not to mention how he predictably enters the zone, skates around the outside, watches his players get into position, then proceeds all the way around the net and gets chased out of the zone. You get the point, Mike.
Yeah, and I'm not sure Don Cherry was talking about Nylander last night in the first intermission, but he was railing against somebody not driving to the net and somebody peeling and curling as he enters the zone. And that's Nylander's game. I mean, honestly, that is his game. He's in his fourth year in the NHL. I don't think he's changing. I don't think he's somebody who's going to go to the net and take the abuse. His game is to curl, is to look and to dish off. And Matthews is more of a shooting center than a passing center, so that dynamic fits. But if you expect William Nylander to all of a sudden morph into Gary Roberts, give me a break. Not happening.
He is who he is. He gets paid $7 million. Some think he's paid well, and it's worth every penny. Others will say that he's overpaid. You're right, Mike. He fits a role on this team. There are going to be stretches where his play is effervescent and he's doing things to carry the club. But for the most part, he is a role player, and he is a guy who is hopefully going to be a great facilitator for one of the best players in the league, and that's Austin Matthews. That is his modus operandi, Mike. That is his purpose on this team. And if he can do that and pick up 55, close to 60 points along the way, that's great. But against Boston, and especially in the playoffs, if Nylander's game continues the way it's been going forward and not changing in those pressure cooker moments when literally every goal means for or against means you are either closer or further away from getting to the next round or being eliminated, the criticisms of Nylander in the past will again present themselves in the future. A few more minutes, Mike.
Yeah, and you have to compare the two 88s, the two buddies, Pasternak and Nylander. Pasternak is about the same size. He may even be smaller than Nylander. And if you saw yesterday, he was getting into it in front of the net, around the net, with one of the Leafs defenders, and he scored that critical goal to earn the Bruins a point. I mean, they're two totally different players. They're both extremely skilled, but Nylander's a peripheral player. And I mean, I think the thing is, I think Leaf fans have to just accept that. It's the fact he's not somebody who is going to go to the front of the net and take abuse. He is somebody who is going to be on the periphery, try to set somebody up in front of the net. He's a very good playmaker. He's got a great shot, but again, you cannot expect him to be the player that he isn't. And I think it's a failing in his game, but that's what he is. So I think Leaf fans just have to accept his limitations.
Okay, so when push comes to shove, what does he become, though, Mike? And that's what we'll find out. But he's got lots of time to develop into someone with a little more confidence, a little bit more character out there. It's there. Mm-hmm. And this is the kind of guy where seasons 5 through 8 could be light years better than seasons 1 through 4, even though he's done some pretty nice things along the way. Just a quick stat update. Mitch Marner, 3 goals, 8 assists, 11 points in 9 games. Morgan Rielly with 11 points, 2 goals, 9 assists. Matthews, 9 points, 7 goals to lead the team. Look, and Ilya Mikheyev, 7 points. Like this is what I like about the developmental model of the Maple Leafs and the organization as a whole right now. You have so much great talent, but you have great talent coming up. Dmytro Timashov and Ilya Mikheyev. These guys have, especially Timashov. I mean, he's been around for a little bit. He's seasoned and he's producing. This is fantastic. Who knows? In 2 or 3 years, it could be a Timashov or a Mikheyev who takes the cup first. When the Leafs finally win it, these guys might not be role players in the evolution of this team and where it's ultimately going to go. Who knows how this all plays out? Maybe these are the guys who lead the team to the promised land ultimately, and some of these other cats who are at the top of the heap right now are essentially getting the team or helping to facilitate that process along the way. I don't know, but it's fun to see young blood come up and not ride coattails, not stand around witnessing good things, but actually contributing to good things.
Yeah, and the pipeline is just going to simply continue
Yeah.
because Igor Korshkov has 5 goals in 5 games with the Marlies. I would think that at some point this year, him being somebody who had some experience in the KHL, like if there's an injury on the wing, that Korshkov is probably going to be one of the first call-ups. I don't think we'll see Rasmus Sandin again this year, not because he isn't good enough, but because I don't think they want to burn the first year of his entry-level contract. And that's going to be important going forward with the 3 UFAs that they have next year: Liljegren, Engvall, Marchment, Bracco. I mean, there's a lot in the pipeline. And as we heard last night, the most important guy for the future of the Leafs could be Jim Pialafito, their one of their scouts, and the guy who goes over to Russia and scouts the Russian players. He had a big hand in getting Mikheyev, and the Leafs have their hands in at least 2, maybe 3 names over in the KHL. And that's going to be a pipeline as well, and that they're going to have to explore because they can get those players cheap. So that's where we're looking for those players supplementing the core group. And that's the hope, that they all have the same success level as Mikheyev has.
Lamoriello gone, Hunter gone, Paliafito rising right to the top and doing what needs to be done to help develop an organization. Dubas is the front man. Shanny's the front man. Babcock. This is the biggest and most famous hockey team on the planet with huge stars, massive fan base. The Leafs Convo covering every step of the way. But it's the guys like Jim Paliafito in the background who are doing work that's just important as any of the people who get most of the credit on a day-to-day basis. Just to wrap up, Mike, the Leafs have the Columbus Blue Jackets at Scotiabank Arena on Monday.
Mhm.
I don't want to look at any game as if it should be won or lost. I just want to look at every game as an opportunity for fans to enjoy something new. We know,
Mhm.
Mike, this team should be a 110-point team. Like it's a given. They have the capability. It's a given. But what can we enjoy night in and night out?
Well, I mean, this is going to be a challenging week for the Leafs because you have 2 back-to-backs. You have Columbus, Boston, Monday, Tuesday, and if they follow the same script, it's going to be Anderson against Columbus and Michael Hutchinson at TD Garden against the Bruins, and then Friday, Saturday, at home against San Jose, Patrick Marleau's return, and then in Montreal against the Canadiens. And if they stick with the script, it'll be Hutchinson against the Canadiens. I mean, I think that they obviously should play Hutchinson in the first game against Columbus and in the first game against San Jose. Not that San Jose would be an easy game, but I think you have a better chance of winning all 4 games if you approached it that way. I don't think Babcock's going to do that, and hence, I mean, I can just see next week if Hutchinson is 0-4, Babcock coming out and saying, "Well, we got to get better goaltending from our backup goaltender." You've got to improve the chances of getting points out of your backup goaltender by managing the matchups, and he refuses to do that. So I have a feeling that Michael Hutchinson will be as much of he will be as abused by Babcock as Spezza has been, and that they cannot do that, and they need a backup goaltender to step up, but they also need to put him in better chances to win.
I don't know. Does he use passive aggression with his players, or is he just come out? Is it outright disrespect, or is he? I mean, are these ultimatums? Like, what is his approach?
He presses buttons. That's what he does.
Yeah, and I've said this before. Mike Babcock is a smart man, but there is a certain naivete there where he puts trust into players who either don't have the same affection for him or can't deliver for him. Last words to you.
There's no doubting Babcock's success in his history as a coach, and he's going to face a big challenge this year with this team. It's a different team than to coach. I think he wants a team that's bigger, that plays tougher. This is a more skilled team. It's going to be a challenge for him, and it'll be fascinating to see how it unfolds.
A big shout out to DJ Olenek on Twitter getting at us last night. He yelled so hard he woke the neighbors when Matthews to Marner to Riley's sweater ended the game against the Bruins. And now the big question is, he says, should Marner play with Matthews? I'd like to see more of it, Mike. Talk to you soon.